Hey, everybody.
Hello.
How you doing, Andy?
Good, you?
Good, very good. Looks like we got people watching already. So,
Awesome.
Nick Bridge
Yeah, Nick, good.
must be in the UK, right? Good
It
evening.
is, yeah, absolutely. It's just watched my video as well just a minute ago. That's good.
Yeah, 11 a.m. here, Pacific time, 7 p.m. your time, right? 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Rick says hello. How you doing, Rick?
Hi, Rick.
Greetings from David Hofstadter. Terry says good evening.
Hello.
We also have Andrew Nichols, who attends a lot of these. Great to see you
Yeah,
here again.
Andrew.
He's in the UK as well.
Yeah, I remember Andrew from the last one we did.
Steven's here from Prescott, Arizona. Good to see you here.
Fantastic. Yeah, let us know where you're from, guys. Jed. This is Jed who's with me tomorrow, going to Wales.
Excellent.
For his sins early morning.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got Dennis Dunbar in Los Angeles, like myself.
Where you from, Dennis?
People from Canada.
Nice, representing.
Alan from UK.
Cool. Hi, Alan.
David's in Maine.
Maine, awesome.
Good morning from snowy Genoa,
Wow.
Alaska. Nice.
Fantastic.
Osvaldo, one of my moderators too. Cool. Good seeing you here. Yeah. And let me just remind everybody to please give StreamYard permission to show your name and profile pic if you are on Facebook. So you just look for that little link underneath the live, streamyard.com/Facebook. And speaking of StreamYard, so I wanted to say thanks to StreamYard, the multi-streaming platform. I can stream to various Facebook groups,
really good.
4 at a time.
Yeah.
YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. I think you can stream to Twitch.
And, awesome.
Maybe sooner or later, Instagram will let the API be able to stream to Instagram.
That'd be good.
Cool. So thank you,
StreamYard as well.
Yeah, thanks.
How many groups can you stream to at the same time on Facebook? Because I know we stream to 2 of our groups, don't we? Can you stream to more than one?
Like 9 or 10 locations in general.
Wow,
so there's times when I think I've streamed to 4 different groups at one time. So.
Nice. That's good.
Too many groups.
Yeah.
We got Ben.
Ben, I know Ben. Yeah, Ben's from the UK. Brilliant.
Cool. Larry from Sarasota, Florida.
Larry.
John G is here from Pompeii. Good to see you.
Nice. Okay, good.
And Hannah from Belgrade, Serbia.
Yeah, so Pompey is the slang term for Portsmouth, where I'm at. So that's good. Portsmouth representing.
And Shanu, I believe he's in Ireland, Dublin, Ireland. Good to see you here, Shanu. So yeah, once again,
that's a good number of people. Brilliant.
Welcome everybody. Just a reminder to let us know where you're watching from. So I'm in Los Angeles, and he's in the UK.
Yeah. Completely different time zones. It's crazy to get us together, but it works. It's good.
For you, it's like after dinner. For me, it's like before lunch.
Yeah, and on a Friday too. So if there's people from the US and that sort of time zone, you join us during the day. That's pretty good.
Stefan from Lymington, UK.
Yeah, I think that's pronounced Lymington.
Yeah,
just in case. There's a lot of places around
Liverpool.
Quite close to me. So yeah, Liverpool, brilliant. You kind of got to get the names right, otherwise the locals go a bit crazy.
Nice.
That's good. That's a good number. So we're looking for. Hi, Shanu.
He says he is a similar stormtrooper as.
I've got 2 full-size stormtroopers. Actually, I'm trying to sell one at the moment. If you're interested.
You're selling one of them, right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
So that's a good segue. So let's jump into the conversation. So first, Sandra, who nice shout out, will be also doing a digital artist talk.
Yeah,
an ongoing show with Sandra from Australia.
Awesome.
That'd be great. She does great work, great art. And
cool. What's the time in Australia right now? Then must be.
I think it's probably like
early morning.
Like if today's Friday, it's probably 9 or 10 a.m. Saturday.
Okay. Yeah.
She says, "Good day. Good
Day.
day."
Nice. Like it.
Great. So, yeah, I was gonna say if you want to introduce yourself, Andy, and then maybe start talking about what some recent. Oh, 6 a.m. Wow, 6 a.m.
Oh,
for
wow.
her.
Okay. Nice. Having a cuppa. Brilliant.
Thanks for your dedication
Yeah,
for being here
absolutely.
so early.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna say, Andy, you could introduce yourself and talk about what
Yeah.
projects you're working on, and you could talk about the Stormtrooper you're selling.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm Andy. I'm obviously from the UK. That's the south of the UK. And I've been a photographer now since well, I can't remember when I started. It was back in college. Back in those days, it was film. And I love the aspect of photography, composition, telling a story, that kind of stuff. And it's the same today, but the difference back then was with film. Developing was always for me a laborious workload. So I kind of gave up. I didn't give up on photography, but I kind of relaxed myself into letting doing the hard work of, or the easy work of, taking pictures, and letting someone else do the hard work of processing. So I kind of got back into the passion of photography when the digital world came into its own, and you're sort of 2005 and 6, maybe, yeah, around that kind of time, started picking up cameras again and really going to town with taking pictures for me, rather than just taking your snapshots of family and that kind of stuff, and really bring that passion back out. So I decided to really invest in some good camera kit when in about 2010, give or take. And when I say good, it was good for the time. It was relatively low end pro cameras, and started doing weddings and stuff like that. So it's been about 12 years. So about 2009, about 12 years, I've been shooting weddings now, and that went professional about a year after I started doing weddings. I've done a year of weddings for free, give or take, to get
Now,
go ahead.
quick question about weddings, though.
Yeah, yeah,
Pretty intense kind of photography, very
J-
demanding, and all
yeah.
that pressure too. Like if you miss the perfect shot, then
And that keeps a lot of people away. I've got to admit, that does keep a lot of people. But the thing I like about wedding photography is it's all photography. It's every kind of genre of photography you can ever think about. From pet photography, I've shot pets at weddings, food,
good point.
architecture, interior design. Everything. And if you ever wanted to up your game in photography in general, I would suggest maybe doing a couple of second photographer for if you can get onto to a wedding, because it will certainly beef your game up. And I actually, the reasons why I started doing weddings was, I mean, even before I realised how much pressure was involved in weddings, because there is a lot of pressure involved. But I'm a people person. I like to talk to people, and there's nothing better than a wedding for meeting, up to 200 people, 250 people sometimes. And that, I think, is what I enjoy about weddings. I don't think it's going to be something I'm going to do for the rest of my professional career, as when I come onto my workshops in a minute, because of that pressure and because of that amount. It's a long day sometimes, and it's I don't know, it's as much as the day goes really well. There's so much to do after it, and with the
Sure.
family now, and it turns from something that I really really enjoy to something that I sit down and think, do I want to be doing this for the rest of my professional career? And it's not to say I won't that I might start. Thanks for too much work, too much stress. Yeah, there can be
Right.
stress, but there's. I mean, I work with a team now. I'm at a point in my professional career where I can talk to a wedding couple and almost I can almost pick and choose the weddings I want to do. And it sounds a bit silly, but I can maybe set, I have a meet it or a few meetings with my wedding clients, and I can almost sometimes tell whether we're a good fit or not. And on a couple of occasions, I've passed a few weddings on to friends and stuff because I thought it probably wasn't a good fit for me. And I know that might sound a little bit conceited, but I'm at that point in my career where I can do that, and I can almost judge when I've had a few weddings that have been a bit crazy and a bit stressful, sometimes a bit too stressful. And I kind of said to myself, that's not what I need. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can get to a point where you can kind of say, maybe you'll be better off with someone else. It sounds a bit silly, but you know,
Hey,
you don't have to have a stressful wedding. You can, you know, there's ways and means around that as such. I think the term is bridezilla. I don't work with bridezillas anymore. I tend to do
and you
things.
take such nice landscape photography, you know, beautiful sunsets.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks. So the landscapes kind of kicked in quite early on, I think, in my photography sort of journey. But because of the weddings and how stressful they can be, I think I stopped doing it. I love weddings, people do. Yeah, absolutely. I do love a wedding.
yeah.
It's a long day, and you're right. It doesn't stop there, and I think that's where a lot of people don't really appreciate. Uh, you know, where the cost of a wedding photographer. You know, everybody else at a wedding gets to go home at the end of the day, and they're done. You know, the wedding photographer or videographer, in fact, you know, has to go home and, you know, spend, you know, probably treble that amount of time you spent on the day, maybe even longer, you know, doing the rest of the stuff.
Sure.
But with landscapes, that's my passion, landscapes, and that's almost my release, you know. So I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but I'm going on the trip tomorrow to Wales, and it's a fair distance. But I'm going with Jed. Jed's there in the comments somewhere. Give us a thumbs up, Jed. And we're going to be going really early. So I'll hopefully go to bed not long after we've had this chat and be getting up at maybe about 2 o'clock in the morning. And then we're going to travel to Wales. Hope the weather's going to stay nice. And we're shooting 4 waterfalls, which is going to be quite good. I'll be vlogging it as well. So that'll be on my YouTube channel later,
Great.
maybe next week.
Nice.
But it's going to, yeah. So landscapes for me are just they're a release, they're a passion. It's photography for me because all the other photography, the wedding photography, portraits, generally they're for someone else. Not that I don't mind doing that, but landscape photography is you know, is a passion, and that's where I have my, you know, where my de-stressor maybe. I think.
And you've been working with, you know, Photoshop. And do you primarily work with Photoshop or Lightroom or a mixture of both? Or
I used to be Photoshop only until about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and that would cheers, Jed. That would be you know, a long process. You know, there's ways and means of potentially batch processing
right?
in Photoshop, obviously, but I think
Kavanagh.
Lightroom with its categorizing and your ability to. Hi, Amy. That's Jed's daughter. How you doing? Okay.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, the ability to categorize and work with multiple scenes, and you know, almost you know, that has been a game changer in my wedding photography. You know, for the last 5 or 6 years. So yeah, Lightroom mainly, Photoshop as and when I need it for that, and that's the same with landscapes. To be fair,
Yeah.
I don't generally go to Photoshop unless I really need to remove stuff. I do remove stuff. I get in trouble sometimes. People don't always like the sky replacements that I do, but that's just my vision,
Sure.
my art. You know, my vision of what my art would be, my end product. Almost people
I
like
guess
it.
I'll introduce myself briefly, just
Yeah, go ahead.
and then we can jump back and forth.
Yeah,
And if people have
absolutely.
questions,
You're the
please do.
Photoshop man. You're the one.
Oh yeah. So yeah, speaking of Photoshop, my Photoshop T-shirt. Yeah. So back in the 90s, not to date myself, back in the 90s, I was taking some classes at School of Visual Arts in New York, where I was introduced to Photoshop, early 90s, and fell in love with Photoshop immediately.
Mm.
But the pace of the course was a little slow at times. So there were people who were like, "How do you turn on the computer?" And I was like, "I want to rock and roll with this stuff," you know. So I went out and bought like the Deke McClelland Photoshop Bibles at the time. They were like
Yeah.
800 or 900 pages, and I read it through, and I started building my work. And so I started building my work. Andrew says, "I wondered who Andrew is. You're also Andrew." So it's the Andrew and Andy show. We got a
Yeah,
couple of
absolutely.
Andys here, a couple of Andrews. But what happened is, yeah, so I built up my portfolio, and then I applied or registered with some creative temp agencies in New York. I was in New York City at the time, and they got me my foot in the door with advertising. So I started off with advertising, doing photo compositing and retouching, and that was great. So that was like Tarlo advertising, where they had like Ralph Lauren, Polo Sport,
Mhm.
Revlon was a big one, Neutrogena, And then there was like a subdivision of another advertising agency just above that I would go up, and they had different clients that I'd work on. And then my supervisor, who I got along well with, he would say, there's this other gig that I do at night times. Do you want to go with me and work on this? So he recommended me, and I worked for Young and Rubicam, and we would work on like Hewlett Packard composites and Philip Morris cigarette ads. Not the most politically correct now, but he was pretty prevalent back in those days. And yeah, just a variety of different clients. And then I worked for other advertising, Gray Advertising, and Hill Holiday, Altschiller. But yeah, it was a great experience. Kind of just thrown right into it all, and get it really into Photoshop. And that's one thing that I think is very valuable, is real world experience. So I mean, you can study Photoshop and you can talk about Photoshop, but when you have projects that are demanding and they're usually due yesterday type of thing, and then there's endless changes, that type of experience is what really gets you to learn the kind of underpinnings of Photoshop. How can I solve this problem?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was good. And so I did that for a while, and then me and my wife moved to San Francisco, where I caught the last year of the dot-com boom. And then I got into tutoring and doing freelance photo editing, compositing, retouching, and then moved to Los Angeles. And I think we've been here about 16 years. But yeah, here I do a mixture of Photoshop and Lightroom tutoring, photo compositing, retouching. And then I run those crazy groups on Facebook. And I do, for transparency, I do also do some affiliate promotions for people in the Photoshop and photography industry, for only the people that I really appreciate or find them to be sincere. But yeah, so that's what I do. Oh, and I should say, since it's the name of my website and YouTube and everything, I do digital art. So besides the Photoshop work side, I've been doing digital art for years and building up the portfolio even more. So I'm on Behance, and I have a website, and Instagram, of course, is a great site to showcase your work.
Absolutely. So I started with a copy of CS3.
CS3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a bit older than you. I think I started with
Mine was in the 2000s. So with Photoshop, I think it was about 2002. I started with a copy.
Mine was like version 2 or 2.5.
Proper back
Not
in the
CS,
day.
but
I was going to say, when you said 96, 95, 96. Jeez.
No, it was early 90s. So I think it was like,
okay.
I think technically 1993 when I started in the work world.
Nice. Yeah.
Advertising.
No, I had a copy of Cold Draw before that.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, that was in the days where like you would have to keep putting in floppy after floppy after floppy to install
just to get it to work. Yeah, absolutely.
It was like literally, I think there was maybe even 12 floppy disks they gave you, and you put in one after the next.
You had to work out which one to put in at what point.
Andrew says he started with CS. Yeah.
Nice.
Now the one thing that I felt when I had, yes, exactly. That's it. It was 4 floppies, but you had to keep rotating them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I either started with Photoshop 2 or 2.5, and it was the same thing, like the 4 floppies that you would put in like a total of like 12 times. But yeah, the one thing that in the beginning I was like, I believe that Photoshop was also like just black and white. So like the tools are black and white, the panels are black and white. And then I was on like one of the old, Macs. Exactly. Here we go. So and the Mac 2SI only had like 12 megabytes, I think it was. Yeah. 20 megabytes. But yeah, it was an old Mac, and it was like a little beige box. And I think back then I was excited for the technology, but I was like thinking, I really hope this evolves, because it felt like a tiny little box for a computer.
Yeah. I had a laptop. I think it must have been about 97. I had a laptop, and I had Cold. I think Cold Draw was out then, but I was using Paint. Believe it or not, I was doing some really nice stuff just in Paint as best as I could, and I was really, really impressed. I actually submitted some of that stuff for my college work. and that worked really well. So I was quite impressed with that. But yeah, I couldn't use Paint now nowadays. Not with what we got going on now with Photoshop. So
Clive says he loves LA, but end of Route 66, Santa Monica Pier, Muscle Beach. Wife was disappointed as the men didn't portray the films a month. Yeah, that's kind of an illusion. It's nice out there. The beach is very beautiful, and there's some very good little seafood restaurants and whatnot. But at Santa Monica, when you go to Muscle Beach, you think you're going to see Arnold and like other people working out and posing and all that. And there's like a group of like 6 people or something. So yeah, but yeah, LA's good, and I moved here from the East Coast, and I had a lot of, New York friends putting down LA when I first moved here, I think. But it was great. I mean, me and my wife have been to some really great cultural events and some really good art openings, and there's some nice museums here, and of course, good cuisine. But yeah, the one thing is, I went to a bunch of art openings, that's been closed for a few years during the pandemic. But
yeah,
when we'd go to art openings, sometimes there'd be like an Elvis impersonator, or like at one time there was a band that was playing inside of a van, and
okay.
just, really creative stuff. And there
Yeah,
was this one
yeah.
woman who used to have this puppets, like really large puppets that she would take with her around the different galleries. Um, I think that was Bergamot Station. Yeah. Yeah. Good creative art scene though. So Andy, what have you been up to? What project are you working on now?
I think for my YouTube channel, I'm looking at doing the more POV style kind of vlogging. Have you heard of that, Andrew? Have you been? It's a kind of a new fad, a new phase of wearing a GoPro-like camera on your body and going around, because your traditional kind of vlogging with a vlogging camera, whether that's your phone or whether that's an actual camera, is tricky to do when you're setting up everything else. So when you're setting up a shot with the tripod and all that kind of stuff, holding a camera or having another camera already set up on a tripod isn't always feasible, and it's time
Right.
consuming, and it's a nightmare, especially when you're trying to get things like B-roll, those kind of walking backwards and forwards to camera, that kind of stuff, because that obviously takes 3 times the amount you actually see on the video, because you have to walk past the camera first and then come back and get it and then move along to the next bit. But the
And is this
POV style, yeah,
sorry, but
go
and
on.
is this like you have the camera, so it's showing you as you're like taking photographs and doing your
Absolutely, and I
thing?
can
Excellent.
talk to it. I'm quite close to it. It's on my chest. You'll see it in my latest sort of 3 or 4 videos that I've
Right.
had on YouTube. And I bought a Garmin, uh, I can't remember what it's called now, VIRB something or other,
Right.
a few weeks back, because I started seeing these videos pop up all over the place. There's a few people that I follow, obviously on Instagram and YouTube, street photography, that kind of stuff, which I haven't really been getting into much. I like to do it, but don't really get into it too much. Most of my landscape stuff are going to one place. I know the composition I want to get. I'll research it, go there, take the shot, come home, that kind of stuff. But with the street stuff, it can always be like ad hoc. I start one place and finish at another place, or do a complete
Sure.
circle and come back with an hour's worth of footage that I have to then cut down. That's time consuming in itself, but cutting it down and then adding the pictures that I've potentially edited Lightroom or Photoshop onto the screen as I take the picture, and that seems to be the kind of way forward. So I've been doing a lot of that recently. I'm doing a lot more commercial stuff, so I have a few secret projects potentially coming up this year. Which
Secret
I
projects.
Yeah, so I can sort of talk about this. I
Right,
did
right. Sure.
a bit of video work. So I do a bit of video stuff for a studio production company that is just down. I say just down the road, just about an hour away from where I live. So I do quite a bit of work for them in other few bits and pieces. So I did some video, some uh, B-roll stuff, and a few other bits and pieces, and a bit of drone work for them last year. I went to Scotland to do that, and that's kind of opened up a few doors, because the person that we were shooting for, it's a documentary for the son of a very famous F1 driver from back in the 70s.
Hmm.
Uh,
Interesting.
yeah, and that may have opened up a few doors for me. We last couple of days come to me and said, I've seen the pictures you took on, because I did behind the scenes pictures on that for that week as well, and he's seen some of the pictures and he's really impressed. And he's currently working on another production, and the production crew and the director of that project are really impressed with those pictures. So they may be asking me to go along to certain places around the world, which I'm quite excited about this year, and going in throughout the year. And because this guy is involved in the racing circuit himself, he will be doing some bits and pieces in Le Mans, and a few other places, potentially the USA F1 in October, which he might be going out to, and he's going to want a photographer potentially. So I might be out in Texas at the end of the year. That should be quite good.
Too bad you're not coming to California. That'd be nice.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I was looking because my missus is a big Elvis fan, and say, is that close to Graceland? It's about 9 hours away. We could probably fly to it, so we might have to do a bit of a go out early and go and do the Elvis thing, because that's what we have to do. We've got a wife who is a devout Elvis fan. So, but yes, that's a lot. I've got a lot of bits and pieces coming up commercially, which is quite good. But in terms of personal stuff, like I said, tomorrow with Jed, we're going to Wales to shoot the Four Waterfalls Walk. That's a mouthful. And we're hoping the weather doesn't come in too quickly, because it is going to be a bit nasty in the afternoon. So we're getting there really early. Going to get some really nice footage. I don't know whether we'll get the drone up, because I think the weather might be too windy, but there's going to be some good footage coming out tomorrow. I also need to add some additions to my academy. So I've got a landscape photography academy, which has been going for a year now, actually, almost in about 3 weeks' time, it'd be a year old, which is fantastic.
Your photography academy, right?
Yeah. I mean, it is specific to landscapes. I plan on doing, because I have an online wedding academy, which I do via Zoom, but I'm planning on doing that as an online video style thing. So it'll just go out there and do its thing. And that's popular, the landscape one.
And what's the reality with the Stormtrooper? How are you involved with
So I'm a big Star Wars fan, obviously. I've got quite a bit. You can't see, but just around this corner where I'm pointing there is a case full of some probably quite rare pieces of Star Wars memorabilia, because I'm a big Star Wars fan. And the big Stormtrooper that I actually wear is for myself and my wife. We run a cosplay group, and that's set up for people who want to help out charity. So we do a lot of cosplay for charity stuff. And funny enough, it's called Hampshire Cosplay for Charity, because we live in Hampshire, not New Hampshire, we're Old Hampshire in the UK. And we go to a lot of events. We get contacted by charities to help out, and the idea behind that is to help fundraise. And if you've got a stormtrooper running around maybe a supermarket or a mall in the US with a bucket trying to get donations, you're more likely to get donations, because people want to get pictures with you, that kind of stuff. So we've got a lot of different characters: DC, Marvel. I do a Ghostbuster. You might have seen my recent pictures. I did an event last weekend with a local charity called the Autism All Stars.
Nice.
Which are fantastic.
So you might even go into like hospitals dressed in
we go in hospitals. Yeah, we've done a few things that are upsetting at times, but ultimately, help out somewhere.
Yeah, nice, very nice. So any questions as we go here? Different platforms here. We got
not necessarily Star Wars. That is a Darth Vader there. I don't know if you see the hand there sticking out as a Darth Vader.
Do you ever dress up as him?
I don't, but we've got a few that do. I do Batman.
Oh, that's cool.
I like Batman. We've got a few of them.
Those costumes must be pretty expensive, I would imagine, too.
Yeah. The Star Wars ones in particular, the Stormtroopers, they run into the thousands sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's see. How about showing some of your work? So,
okay, the website. Wow. Okay, yeah. Let me just pop over to that.
You can always click another tab too to show any other sites you want as well.
Sure. So funny enough, I've had a website for my wedding business for a very long time. That's changed over the years, but I've also had a website for my landscape photography, and recently I got rid of that, and it's just now my workshop. But I've never really had a website for all of my photography. So now I've designed a website, because I do my own designing, to look at all of the different aspects of my photography. Potentially, I've got more to add. This is very, very recent, and the website is live, but it's not currently on Google yet. So I've got portfolios for my landscape and wedding. They generally go through to my Instagram pages. So I've got an Instagram for my landscape and Instagram for my wedding. And obviously a contact is what it is. But I then have stuff, obviously the wedding link goes through to my wedding website. But this is kind of a portal where anyone and I can take people to this and then they can branch out into any of my photography. So my portrait photography page links to 3 other pages. So I do boudoir, which I'm not going to go into here. Family and models. So I'll have a look at the models, and I've been working with models for a long time, and I worked with a lot of younger models who potentially are looking to get into the business. So I've created this page which gives a lot of information to models about where they'd want to go with their portfolio, what kind of preparation they want to do before doing any kind of shoot or before they get a portfolio together, wardrobe advice.
Very well organized. I like that.
Yeah, so I use Wix, funny enough, as my website. I can design my own websites, but Wix is just too easy. Lots and lots of information on there for models.
Great.
So I don't suppose anyone here is that interested in what models want to do. There's a little gallery at the bottom there as well. And then I've got my business side of things. So my business headshots and portraits have a lot of information on there for local businesses, because businesses do contact me, but there's no way I have of sending them somewhere in particular to see any of my work. I don't know why I've never done that. And obviously pricing and stuff like that, I'm not going to go into it. If anyone wants to see my pricing,
I really like how organized it is too. So it shows your work, but it has
Wix is so easy.
good information.
Honestly, Wix makes it so easy.
Yes, Sandra says you have diversity in your photography, which speaks to you personally as a photographer.
It does, and that can come with some downsides as well. Obviously, my learn photography goes through to my I don't know whether you can see. Has that gone through to the other tab? Yep. That goes through to my
that's good. Yep.
workshops tab. So this is my workshops website where people can go and I love to teach, and I've always liked to teach, and it's because of my now wife who got me involved in doing local sort of photo walks that then progressed onto actually getting paid to teach, which is fantastic. But just going back to being a diverse photographer, it sounds really good, but the problem you find there is without having a niche, you end up spreading yourself really thin, and that makes for a lot of work. And people often ask how my business is going. My business is going really well, but if I was just doing one thing, I could devote all my time into that one thing. And I think at the end of my photography journey, when I come to look at things like retirement, it'll be the workshops. Weddings are good and they pay well, but they're hard work, sometimes stressful. The workshops, I love to talk to people and teach. Excuse me. So, teaching people is just, I think the way forward for me, and that's where I want to be in 10, maybe 15 years time, concentrating on that, I'd say.
Well, you have a question from Nick. So Nick is asking, as a photographer, what do you prefer to use to edit your work and why? Meaning Lightroom versus Photoshop.
Is that for me, or is that?
No, that's for you.
So Nick, yeah. So, mate, am I back? Are we still on my website?
Go back. Yep. So go back.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It's yeah, nice. It's for me. It depends on the vision of what I want my end picture to be. I think initially I'm always bringing all of my images initially in through Lightroom. I find it so much easier. I don't use Bridge. I haven't used Bridge for a very long time. I think Lightroom does a very good job of categorizing, and it enables me to cull my images, because often I have a lot more images than you'll ever see. I only ever really post my maybe top 1% of what I think is my best work.
Jed says you have certainly helped her.
Jed's a guy.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, but absolutely. I mean, Jed has come a long way. Jed is actually a second photographer for me as well.
All right. Okay.
Jed
about the her comment.
Yeah. Jed did my wedding workshop a few years ago when I was doing it physically before COVID and before I went online with it. and you know, you can see from his photography, it's just incredible. So whenever I've got a project, you know, a wedding project that I need a second photographer on, Jed and one or two other local photographers, you know, where I'll go first and see if they're available.
Now, Andrew Nichols asks, do you prefer taking the pictures or editing them? Probably both.
That's hard because I like the editing process. I've got to admit, I do like, you know, having that vision often when you go and take a picture isn't always there in camera. You know, what I see with my eyes isn't what my camera often takes. And that's for a number of reasons. And that's what makes things like landscape photography really, really difficult. And I'd say landscape photography is probably one of the harder genres of photography to do, mainly because for the majority of the time, you don't have an actual subject to take a picture of. I've got a tickle in my throat. I do apologize, but
have some water or juice. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, Clive asked if you what are the advantages of Photoshop?
Wow. I think with the advancements of what Photoshop can do now, certainly can make your life a little bit easier. I remember when I was working with, you know, CS2, CS3 and upwards, the process of manipulating an image would take hours, sometimes, you know, days. Stuff you can do nowadays in you know, a fraction of the time.
Sure.
Certainly things like cutting out objects, people, that kind of stuff. You know,
I was going to say if they're asking in relationship to Lightroom, the differences or advantages would be retouching. You know, that you can use
absolutely.
layers.
Yeah, the manipulation of an image is you know, more specific in Lightroom. It's already in Photoshop. Lightroom, I think, is makes my editing really quick. I know it sounds really silly, but I do have my own presets that are a starting point for me. They're not an end point, but certainly I know what time of day I've shot, and I've developed presets that are designed specifically for a certain time of the day, rather than buying presets that you can find online, which were for one particular image that someone took maybe in a completely different country with different lighting and different cameras and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I developed presets that are specific for the time of day that you shot, and that won't ever change. And as a starting point, it will start off with, you know, things like contrast and all that kind of stuff, and we'll get it, you know, get your image kicked off, and that will save a bit of time. But again, presets, I always tell people, don't use presets as an end goal, because you know, one image you take at, you know, 5 o'clock and you take another image of the same area at 6 o'clock, they're gonna look different if you use the same preset and don't do anything to them. They won't look the same. And I'm always trying to make a set of images, you know, look similar, but presets are a starting point. And yeah, Lightroom, I think, is a fast way of categorizing a lot of images. You know, certainly culling, my culling process, when you've got, you know, a wedding, I take, you know, in excess of maybe 4,000 images. The clients don't see that ever. You know, they see the, you know, the best of the best, which will cut down maybe 10% of that.
Nice. So I was going to show a little kind of tour of some of my sites as well, just kind of balance things out. So switch over to, so go back to me. So yeah, so, you know, focusing on my YouTube lately, building that up. And so if you haven't already, please subscribe. Digital artist Andrew Kavanagh. You could do a simple search for that or type it in, digital artist Andrew Kavanagh. And so a lot of the focus is going to be these lives. I enjoy these lives. I think they're very informative, and it's a great way to introduce people who you might have seen a little bit of their work on site, online, on the different groups and whatnot, but haven't really been focusing on a more in-depth understanding of what they do or what they're working on. So, yep, various live events. And I think just a week or so ago, did one with Jesus Ramirez from the Photoshop Training Channel.
Brilliant.
Which did really great. And so, yeah, a lot of great stuff. And so we have anything from, you know, Photoshop to, you know, I did one about what is Behance. We talked about NFTs recently.
NFTs. That's, I mean, I did watch that, and I'm still a little bit, I've got to admit, still a little bit confused.
Yeah, exactly. You pretty much have to do your search on some of the lingo and, you know, who to trust and whatnot. But they did cover a lot of bases about it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that was a really good video, actually. And I've kind of set myself a goal to to see if I can sell one NFT by the end of the year. I might try and give that a go.
Yeah, in the end, it seems you do have to do a lot of still do research. What I'm looking
Well, prep.
into is, are there any people that's sponsor your work or show it on their online galleries where they take a commission when you sell as opposed to you pay beforehand? I'm
Right.
not sure. I like the idea of paying for gas, as they call it, where
Mm.
you pay all these different expenses before you even sell. I'd rather have
Yeah.
you take a
You're
commission
laying down
out.
a lot of cash. I mean, what I heard, $300-400 on
Yeah.
some cases.
But yeah, so as an example, I will also post sometimes little short ones, but little tutorials I do deconstructing an image in Photoshop, photo compositing, etc. And we have had ones where, such as with Eric Joseph, the six steps to making perfect inkjet prints. So, printing, photography as meditation with Stephen Kaplan. There's my creative Photoshop compositing. Photoshop make your self portrait stand out with Hannah Messer. Um, and then I also go over special events that are coming, such as Photoshop Virtual Summit. And they also had like a Lightroom Summit, Storytelling of the Vampire with David Bird. I've been in talks with him about doing another live stream, so that's quite
Mm.
good. A lot of good stuff. And then they're pushing the whole shorts thing on YouTube.
Yeah, I've
So
noticed that recently.
I start off with a couple
They're telling me
talking
how many
ones.
people have subscribed when they've seen my short. I get a notification
They
saying,
do
"Oh, 50."
subscribe or they unsubscribe.
Well, yeah, sometimes you never really know, but yeah, I get a notification now and again saying you're saying your short's finished, but
Yeah, it
or not.
takes a little time to upload it, but I started off with a couple, talks, but then started showing a gallery in my neighborhood, and I think I'm going to start showing more of Los Angeles. So I think that'll be
Yeah.
fun. But that's just in a little tour of my YouTube, and then I post a lot of my work on Behance. So here's my Behance, and so as an example, the top one is a collection of my digital art, and so this is some of my older work, and
Like that.
quite
That's nice.
the range. And I might do variations on the theme. So here's like say one image, and then here's another version
Mm,
of it. So different kind of digital art, composites, photo montage,
mm.
and then I do talk about my tutoring or my teaching. So there's even an embedded video. So you can embed videos on Behance as well, and a little
Never used
descriptive of my
Behance.
services. You're
Yeah.
saying?
I've never used Behance. I'll have to have a look.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. So
Mm,
like I said, here's a little grouping of my digital art. Here's about my learn Photoshop teachings.
nice.
Here's some examples of some of my photo compositing I've done for. This was Intel Developers Forum. So these were very large banners that were
Mm,
at the was it the Moscone Center? I think in San Francisco.
okay.
So this is very satisfying to work on because lots, hundreds of layers working on these kind
Yeah.
of effects. And do I have any photos? I don't think I have any photos of the, it in place, like it on the side of the building, but pretty large, pretty dramatic. It's kind of
Mm,
fun series to work on.
nice.
And this was like a large kind of wall image I did, kind of like a virtual. She's pressing and explodes
Mm.
into different worlds. And then there's kind of a comp of how it would be inside the center.
Oh, yeah.
And then I did some stuff for Herbalife. I was a kind of head retoucher for Herbalife here in LA for a
Okay.
while,
Yeah.
and some social awareness stuff. I think in San Francisco, I was asked to do this awareness about safe sex and all that type of stuff. And then Hewlett Packard, doing kind of like just a promo for them. And here's something I did for one of the things I did for Revlon. Obviously, a lot of things I did with Cindy Crawford, you can't really show. There's copyright issues
Nice.
with that. But I did the back of the Absolute Webby Awards. So that was cool, kind of cover for that. And then, majority of the focus is my digital art.
Yeah.
So I upload my digital art, and you click on it, you get a larger view. And then I believe at the bottom, you can make comments as a visitor to anyone's Behance profile. But I started also uploading some of the videos. So here's the Photoshop tricks you probably
Yeah.
don't know with Jesus Ramirez that I uploaded. Here's my Behance one. here's like a slideshow of my digital art, and then I just mix it in with my digital art. And
Yeah, it's good.
so yeah, so my focus is different. I'm very into I will use a mixture of some of my photos from textures or places with stock sites. So I
Oh,
use Pexels or Unsplash, and we'll get
Unsplash,
some
good.
imagery because I just I'm more active with the teaching and tutoring and photo editing, so I don't always have the time
Yeah.
to go out and
No, yeah,
shoot.
likewise, I use a lot of, I use Envato Elements for a lot of my video music and sometimes, backgrounds, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but just a little shout out to Behance, which is
Yeah.
something that you uh, sponsored by or is with Adobe. So as
Okay,
you can see
yeah.
in the top right, the little logo, um, you either get it with your Creative Cloud subscription or you can just sign up with an email. But the thing I really like about it is you can showcase all your work. As you can see here at the top, they're also kind of pushing or having the availability
Mm,
to display your NFTs, which is
that's good to
interesting.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you can put your information on the left. So, your title, a link to your site, and then as you go down, it just talks like how active you've been, and then your work experience, and then as you can see here, there's all your kind of social icons,
Media
so
links.
links,
Yeah. Nice.
which if anyone knows in terms of search engine optimization, it's always
Yeah.
great to have other sites linking back to your website or your
Mm,
other platforms. So it's pretty good. And then I talk about the Photoshop and Lightroom group on Facebook, which I need to update because it's now 279,000 members. Keeps us busy. And
yeah.
yeah, Andy's also an admin for the Photoshop and Lightroom group and the Photoshop and photography group on Facebook. So
Keeps us
yeah,
busy during the day. It's brilliant.
yeah. And then here's my portfolio. So this is my website,
Hmm.
and so that just shows more of my digital art. And then there's a kind of info or blurbs about learning Photoshop, and so I
Yeah.
embedded a video and a little descriptive.
Nice.
Have a couple reviews or a few reviews, and then some more embedded videos so people can see my
Is all of
work.
your teaching online? Is it, Andrew? Do you do it all online or?
It has
Yeah.
been lately,
Yeah.
so
Makes
since the
sense.
pandemic, I've pretty much been online, and
Yeah.
which in some ways I kind of prefer. You don't
Yeah.
have to worry about travel
I
time.
agree.
You can
Absolutely.
record the session, and then when
Yeah.
you record the session, you can then give it back to your client, and then they can review it, to their heart's content.
Yeah.
And I really
Yeah.
like that kind of availability of that. Um,
Makes a lot of sense.
I've had I've had clients in the past where I've tutored and kind of given them a lot of information, and they insisted they didn't want to take notes or anything,
Yeah. And then they
and then
come
they
back to
come
say
back and
the
say
same.
that
Yeah.
they're not getting it as much as they should have, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you really should have taken notes, and then um, the recordings really help that out, so people can review it again and again. But yeah,
Yeah.
so you can have your digital art, some of your services, my photo compositing and retouching examples, and then other sub menus. There's like an about section, so about me, and I think I have a little blurb about how I won the Guru Award at
Nice.
Photoshop World last year.
Excellent.
That was fun. And then I talk about my YouTube channel and I embed some of my videos. Yep. And I passed 500 subscribers
Nice. I
recently.
saw
I
that the
know
other
that's
day. Yeah. Yeah. Nice
in
work.
the big picture, maybe that's low for a lot of people, but for me, it was a nice thing because I hadn't been.
Do you know what? I had my YouTube channel for a long time before I even passed 100. I mean, I
Yeah.
used it back in the day to showcase my wedding proofs.
Mm.
Funny enough, it meant that my clients couldn't steal my images basically before they bought them, so I
It's
could
a
do
good,
it. I could
good
do a
way
book
to use
proof
it as
in
well.
video form, send it to them, and they could review it, and that's all I used it for probably 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
I've had a YouTube
it's
channel since
hard
the first.
work, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you got to put the time into it.
absolutely.
And then I have a thing about the Photoshop and Lightroom group, and so you know, just talks about it and how you can just join it. But the one thing that's really great about this on my website, and I'm not really plugging my website, I just want to show people that it's here in case they are interested. Um, Under the Photoshop and Lightroom tab is this whole section of the recordings of live video events hosted by the Photoshop and Lightroom group.
Yeah,
And so I am starting to put more of the YouTube recordings, but years and years and years.
Wow.
years of
Have you
recordings.
still got those videos? Do you still have them? Maybe it's worth
Yeah,
putting
well,
them on YouTube.
right. So if I go down to the bottom,
Yeah.
you'll see that originally the link goes to like experts.adobe connect.
Right.
So years ago, I used to use Adobe Connect for these events, but it was restrictive in some ways.
Yeah.
And so what happened is in time, let's see, up here, getting past that, it's, years and years. So there was a bunch that was on Adobe Connect for a while. And then when you get all the way up here, you'll notice that you see links to Facebook.
Longer. Yeah.
And so I might have in the beginning done some Facebook lives, but I
Okay.
think that's kind of hard to have a host. So
Yeah.
the good news is StreamYard came along. And so when StreamYard came out and I noticed all the different features, the focus that it's professional, but with ease of use,
Yeah.
I really love that. So the ease of use with StreamYard made it so I could stream to my Facebook groups. And so a lot of these are streamed with StreamYard. I think for some reason I jumped back to Adobe Connect for a couple of them. I don't know why, but that's interesting. But yeah, StreamYard and streaming to the Facebook groups is my preferred way of doing it. But yeah. And then, just to let people know, I do have a newsletter. So the Photoshop and photography newsletter goes out every Tuesday. And this also I've been doing for years. So this has a lot of great people and a lot of great people in my groups. So Jesse Fireeson, Taran Sahal, Martin Dudley, Barbara Elaine, Shanu John, who's also one of my moderators,
Yeah.
great photographer. See Judge. So it's all range. So anything from photography work to digital artist work.
Awesome.
And you must be in there somewhere as well. I know I've showcased your
down
work.
there somewhere.
Andy. Yeah, but yeah, years and years of newsletters.
Good that you keep them as well. It's really good.
It's what?
It's good that you keep those. I never
Yeah,
thought.
it's something I really enjoy having that.
Yeah.
So, and then when people say, I would like to be featured and I like their work, I'll then send them to this page so that they can click on it and just see the format. So if you click on any of them, you go and see the whole thing. So I always showcase the photographer or artist and a little bit of a bio, a couple of their links, and then I showcase their work.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
This I know Andy likes as well. So keeping that theme going.
Yeah.
So he does like toy photography,
dynamic
kind of setting. Nice work he does. Yeah,
I think I followed them as well. I'm sure I did.
And then I will talk about upcoming events. So here's the promo for the NFT event we did, and then I will promote different people in the industry that I love their work, or in this case, textures. So here's Sandra Dan's textures series of different textures, and by going to my newsletter, you will get specific special deals. So here's 30% off her textures. And then I also am a big fan of the infinite tools. So infinite color, infinite black and white, which I think I'm going to do a recording for my YouTube as a review to show that.
That'd be a good idea. Yeah, review those. Yeah, definitely.
And then Matt Kliskowski, so used to be part of the kind of Kelby gang. He's got a lot of different great courses. So that's under the well, in my newsletter, that's where you'll see that. But I also have a whole recommendations page. So with the recommendations page, first is my Amazon. So I have an Amazon store. And as it says here, recommendations for Photoshop and photography books, cameras, camera lenses, gear in general, computers, Wacom tablets, and lighting. And I'm always updating. So if you check it out and you know of a new book or a camera, tripod, whatnot that you think I should recommend, let me know and I will update it. And then I also will have various affiliates of mine that I sincerely appreciate and like to represent. So Summerana. So here's where you can get some of the actions, overlays, brushes, etc. Matt Kliskowski. And he's got quite the variety of different courses. I need to get you up here, right? I'm not sure if I have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I got some
Yeah, I need to
affiliate.
get you on this page. So, and I also, promote MailChimp, StreamYard, Backblaze. So Backblaze, if you don't know, is fantastic. It's a way to do cloud backups for all your different external drives, your hard drive. And it's literally saved my life. There was a time where I went to back up a new external drive, and I was formatting a new external drive. And for some reason, I don't know why, it reached out and reformatted my main external drive that had my life on it. But for years, I've been telling people about Backblaze and big fan of Backblaze.
Yeah.
So I could just contact Backblaze and then get like a download of my whole, backup collection,
Nice.
and then put that
How many
on.
times do you back up, like a weekly or monthly or
How many
what's your
times do I back up?
Yeah,
Every day. So
every day.
what
Nice.
what happens is I have, Time Machine that backs up my
Yep.
Mac's hard drive,
Mhm.
and then I have Backblaze. So as an example, if I click up here, here's Backblaze. So you can check for updates, and there's a new version, which I'll do after this. And then if I click on it again and I say Backblaze preferences, up pops the system preferences showing that I've been backed up since about 15, 17 minutes ago. So it's pretty,
Yeah,
it's set to continuous. You can
nice.
also schedule it if you prefer that way. So you can schedule it for like 4
Yeah,
p.m. or, maybe when you go to bed, like not
yeah.
9 p.m.,
Do you
midnight,
pay for a
whatever.
certain amount of storage, or does it just
No, it's
pay
unlimited.
unlimited?
That's what I love
Nice.
about it. So you could have like 6 external drives that are being backed up plus your hard drive. So
Wow.
yeah, big
I've
fan of
actually got
Backblaze.
6 I've got 6 external drives now. I've got so many external drives, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
But yeah, that's just kind of like a taste of
Awesome.
my different sites. But yeah, I just want people to know that is there for them. So, I know you see me in the groups all the time, but please don't forget that there are other great resources. So, and if you have questions, you can always reach out to me and ask the questions. And don't forget that you can also reach out to Andy and,
Absolutely.
and inquire about his workshops that he's doing. So he's always doing photography workshops,
And some
and
of
I
them are
do.
online as well. I know people, certainly with photography, would rather the practical sessions, which I do, but
Right.
some of the online stuff, like you do, Andy, and you record it. I do a lot of stuff that I record and that can be played back at your heart's content many, 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 many times over and over. Keep that coming back, and that practice being instilled in
Absolutely.
your muscle memory almost. But practice, practice, practice. Yeah. So I do a lot of stuff online as well.
Yeah. So we got a bunch of comments coming in. So we got
Nice.
Rose is here. Hi from New
New Zealand.
Zealand.
Excellent. Hi, Rose.
She stumbled upon Behance by accident. It is wonderful. Yeah.
I might have to have a look. Yeah,
And
definitely.
then Andrew Nichols says, I wish I had a website. Well, Behance is free. Like I said, you either with your Creative Cloud subscription, you can like log in, or you create, with your email, you create an account. So many different things you can do. You can embed
Mm.
videos, you can put your work up,
Really
and you
good,
can also,
actually, considering that. Yeah.
yeah, and link back to your socials.
Mm.
And then I'm not sure what this is related to, yippee, but
Yippee.
I think probably when I was talking about the fact that Sandra's work, or the fact that we are going to be doing a show together. So great to
Nice.
see that. And then David says, been using Backblaze for a long time. Yeah,
Awesome.
literally a lifesaver. And I always recommend it to my clients. So that is on my website, photoshopandphotography.com, under recommendations. Or if you have questions, just message me. Andrew says, I need to win the lottery if I want to get all the plugins and courses I'd like to. Yeah, it's a lot of great stuff out there. Yeah. And let's see. Rose says, I just got Backblaze after a crash on one of my external hard drives. Lesson learned. I'm also buying a hub to back up on site. Smart. And Sandra says, Behance is on the to-do list. Yeah, it's a great free way to have an online portfolio and to
Resource. Yeah,
connect.
absolutely.
And if people don't know already too, separate from Behance but interconnected there's the Adobe Live, which is basically Behance Live. So that's one that you can check out. And Paul Tranny, the Adobe evangelist, does a wide variety of topics. And I believe Jesus Ramirez from Photoshop Training Channel will do ones on Photoshop. And then Terry White does some pretty consistent ones. And then we have George James, one of our admins of the groups here too.
George.
Also
Yeah.
UK represent in the house.
Yeah, he's
Another guy
represented
from
tonight.
UK.
Yeah, definitely.
David says a local NAS is a great backup system. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those can be a little confusing though, I've noticed though.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. You know what, a NAS drive can be. Really. I mean, I've got some simple drives that I keep all of my backups on. That are left. But you got to remember these things degrade over time.
Absolutely.
Even
Yeah,
an online NAS drive.
that's the one thing that I think they should fix with the technology is a better way to notify you of the health of your drive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know like it starts acting a little strange and then like, okay, I think it's time. And then you try to get a new drive ASAP, but they really should have something built in.
Yeah, it's somewhere where people don't like to spend the money, but I think they should on good drives. I mean, I use a lot of Western Digital stuff.
Yeah, Western Digital. Yeah,
I've got 4 drives plugged in at the moment and 2 over the back.
G-Check drives too.
Sorry, yeah, absolutely,
like
yeah, especially on the go as well. They're really rugged, really good drives. But I do, because I like to have my Lightroom catalog on one drive. I'll have my imported images on another drive, and I've got video on another drive, but the catalog for my video software.
I haven't thought of that. Maybe I should do that. Like I kind of have
crashes,
everything.
If something crashes, I've still got a version of it, if that makes sense. So I've always got either the catalog or I've got the actual image, and then there's the actual backups which have other stuff on which are out.
Right. So the lesson to be learned is it's always good to be professionally paranoid.
Absolutely. Obviously, the downside of that is the potential for a slower process time because everything's everywhere else, and you're dragging stuff in. But it's just one of
I might do that type of organization where I put like maybe all my digital art on one and then put like videos on another or something.
Yeah, I certainly keep my videos away from everything else only because the amount of space that it needs.
Yeah.
When you start pulling pictures off the drive that's full up with videos, it just gets, unless you've got some really fast SSDs, you're starting to go really slow. So yeah, it's just finding your own workflow. I've got videos on it somewhere. All my stuff is
nice, smart. So yeah, let us know if there's any questions. Otherwise, I will give a shout out to Andy's different sites so people can follow him as well as mine. But let us know if there's any last minute questions. But I thought there was a nice chat, and we'll have to keep doing these, Andy.
Absolutely. Okay? Yeah, most definitely.
So yeah, so thanks everyone for being here, and let's see. Remember, you can find Andy on YouTube, Andy Hornby Photos, Instagram, Andy Hornby Photos. Good, keeping it the same.
Yeah.
And then for me, don't forget to subscribe for my digital art, Photoshop, and photography focused live streams like this one and tutorials on YouTube, digital artist Andrew Kavanagh. And as you saw today, my Behance, behance.net, Drew Cav, making it easy on that one, right? YouTube, I thought that was a bit of a long one, digital artist Andy Kavanagh, but they didn't really give me an option to shorten that URL. But maybe in the long run, it's considered a good long-term SEO or something. I don't know.
I've got a Twitter account, so I used a long time ago. I thought I'd come up with something funky, so I come up with Andy to the H. And I thought that was the best thing in the world for about 5 minutes, and I've never changed it. Still there now. Yeah, still use it. Andy to the H. I've been really, really good.
And as we're talking about groups, so remember to join the Photoshop and Lightroom group on Facebook. Just do a search, Photoshop Lightroom or Photoshop Lightroom group. It should come up. It's approaching almost 280,000 soon.
And that last 80,000 has gone quick, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember it was just it seems only like a few weeks ago. Well, no, it was a couple of months ago that was on.
Yeah, the original group was like 446,000. Too much for me and the admins and moderators, and we archived that, moved it to the same name, Photoshop and Lightroom, only about 1.5 to 2 years ago at the most, and it's already almost at 300,000. So pretty great, pretty active group. A lot of great sharing, great photography, great art,
good mods as well.
Excellent mods and admins. Thank you all.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very dedicated, and we keep that group focused, because you don't see what happens behind
Yeah.
the scenes. You know, some people try to post some really absurd
A
stuff, and
lot goes
we
on.
don't let it in. So,
Side.
yeah,
Crazy.
and I'll shout out to my new group, which I will post this video in. But also, if anyone wants to speak for a live event from my new group, has any ideas for it, it is the Creatives Monetize group. So Facebook, you just do a search for Creatives Monetize. And that's not just limited to photographers and digital artists. That's also for live streamers, podcasters, anyone who is doing creative way of monetizing.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
you have ideas. We just, did one for that NFT idea. Let's talk about NFTs. But if you want to speak for the group, let me know. Creatives Monetize on
There's
Facebook.
a lot of information out there, and I'm sure we've got a lot of people watching that have, a very eclectic look on how to maybe monetize their creative
So
ways. Yeah, absolutely.
Andrew says,
Thank
been
you,
a great
Andrew.
night. Thank you both.
Cheers for coming.
Sandra says, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sandra.
Hannah says, thank you, A and A.
Hey, I like that.
A and A for a pleasant evening.
Pleasant evening. Cheers.
Amy says, thank you both.
Cheers, Amy. Take care.
Nick says, thanks for the insight, guys. And Andy, have a safe journey tomorrow. Yep.
Cheers, Nick.
Great time.
I'll hopefully see you in London in a few weeks. Cheers,
Right.
Jed. I'll see you. I'll see you at 2 o'clock in the morning, Jed. 3 o'clock.
And Rose says, I'm pretty sure I've come up with Andy Hornby.
Brilliant.
Maybe seen work. Clive says, thank you, guys. I'm on Photoshop now. And Facebook user, thanks, guys. So, yeah, thanks, everyone, for being here.
Everyone. Yeah.
Keep your eye out. Always look for the top pinned posts in the various groups on Facebook.
Yeah.
Amy says, have a great evening. But yeah, top pinned posts, that is where the notifications are for any live video events, contests, special events, news. And also, I don't have the banner for it, but Andy also has an Andy Hornby photography Facebook group as well.
Yeah, the workshops, Andy Hornby workshops.
Yeah, so do a search on Facebook for Andy Hornby workshops or Andy Hornby photography workshops.
I think it's just workshops, so it's Andy Hornby workshops.
Yeah, great.
Cheers,
Please
David.
come back again and again, David.
Definitely. Yeah.
And thank you, gentlemen, says Rick. So
Cheers,
Rick. Thanks everyone for being here. Have a wonderful weekend, and keep your eye on the groups and keep your eye on our posts. Me and Andy are always busy with some great stuff coming out all the time. So
hopefully we'll do some more of this.
Absolutely. And I think I'll have Shanu John with the next one. Nice. And don't forget to keep your eye out for Digital Artist Talk with me and Sandra Dan. That is going to be an ongoing live event show as well. So thanks everyone for being here.
Cheers,
have a great one.